In this video, I want to show you how to create a very beautiful and interesting lip welt pocket. Using this technique, you will be able to create any shape of welt pocket that you want, and it's very easy to draft this pocket design yourself. This is a masterclass, meaning that we will go very deep into every step of the process. So let's get started. So the first thing that we need for this pocket, we of course need the main fabric, and we need a little piece of fusible interfacing. Now the color of the fusible interfacing should be as close to your main fabric as possible. So my fabric is kind of a beige, so I'm selecting white color fusible interfacing. If I was using a dark color fabric, I would be choosing dark color interfacing. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and place the interfacing with the gluey side facing upwards, and you want to place it on top of your main fabric. I have also prepared a cutout from a bit thicker paper of the lip contour that I want to sew. Now you can draw this by hand, or you can just Google lip vector contour and draw around it or print it, and you will have the shape as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it on top in the middle of the interfacing, and we're going to sew around the contour. So for sewing, I'm going to use the very same template to make it easier to sew, and this is how to do it. Lower the presser foot, and when we're going to sew close to the edge of the shape to precisely follow all the lines that we need. I have also made the stitch length shorter than usual. I'm going to be sewing using 2mm stitch length instead of the usual 2.5mm stitch length. Now this is simply because whenever we're sewing very small details that require precision that we're going to cut out later on, we always want to sew it using a shorter stitch length. Now as I'm sewing, you may notice that every single time I'm stopping to pivot the fabric, my presser foot lifts as well. Now if your sewing machine has this function, I highly recommend using it to sew these kind of shapes. And just I'm going to sew all around the shape, and pay attention that I'm sewing close to the shape form. This is a great method whenever you're sewing details that really need extra accuracy, like shirt colors, for example. And one important thing, my machine does it automatically, but I want to just emphasize on this. Whenever you are pivoting, the needle has to be pushed down. Always push down, right? Because if we're not pushing the needle down, then our seam may go into any direction, right? So what you want to do is always keep that needle pushed down whenever you're pivoting. And then I'm going to continue sew around my shape. Also, you may notice that I'm sewing very slow. I have activated the speed control function on my sewing machine so that even if I'm pushing very hard the presser foot, the machine does not sew fast. Now, whenever you're sewing very delicate details that have sharp corners, that have curves, you always want to sew slower, because this will give you more control over the shape, over the seam, over your fabric. So this is always a good idea to sew slowly whenever you need extra accuracy or precision. Make sure that you are finishing the seam exactly at the same spot that we have started it. And of course, finish with a few back stitches. So now our pocket looks like this. We can see a very clear contour, and what we're going to do is we are going to cut out this part hollow, leaving about 3mm of seam allowance around the contour. So this is exactly how we're going to do it. Make a shortcut. And I'm just cutting around, leaving about 3mm of seam allowance around the contour. So this is how this detail looks right now, and what we're going to do, using much smaller scissors, we're going to make extra cuts whenever we have very sharp corners or we have curves. So now I'm going to make one cut at the edge of the lip and a few cuts around the curves. This is going to make later turning those curves much easier. Now you want to cut as close to the seam as possible, but without damaging the seam itself. This is why we are using extra sharp small scissors for extra precision. I'm going to link these scissors in the description box. They're one of my favorite scissors to have for this purpose. And right here where we have extra sharp corner, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out a big part because it's going to prevent me from pivoting otherwise. So this is how our pocket looks right now, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn the interfacing towards the inside like this. And then we're going to press around the contour, and I'm going to show you how it looks finished. This is how the pocket looks after pressing. You can see that the interfacing controls the seam allowance, pushes it towards the garment inside, and allows us to shape the pocket very beautifully. Not only that, but the interfacing stabilizes the entire fabric where the pocket is, and it kind of serves a double purpose because it will prevent these parts from stretching out when we're starting to use the pocket. And from the outside of the garment, just look how beautiful the pocket is looking, and you always want to use this method whenever you're working with pockets that have these really nice, interesting shapes. So now the next step is I want you to go ahead and prepare 2 straps of red fabric or whatever color fabric you want, and put fusible interfacing on the inside of these straps, fold in half. So I have prepared 2 straps like this, and on one strap I also attached a piece of lining like this. So simple straight stitch on the raw edge, and I attached the interfacing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece that has lining with this side facing up. We're going to slip it underneath like this, and this part right here is going to go at the bottom lip part. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that when you're aligning these edges right here are where the red fabric is ending. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the second part and you're going to slip it. The open side is facing upwards, and you're going to slip it right here and match together with the other part. So like this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch around this area. Now for top stitching, what you want to do is you want to choose a bit longer stitch length than usual. I chose 3mm stitch length, and you also may notice that I changed the color of the bobbin thread to match the red color of my lips. That does not you don't necessarily have to do that, but I think it's going to add a nice touch when you look at the inside of the garment. So now what we're going to do is we're going to position our needle to go right at the corner of the lips. Just checking where the needle drops, that's fine. And we're going to sew around the edge about 1-2 millimeters from the edge. So now we're going to do the same as we did previously. We're going to sew very slow. You can notice that my sewing machine made a few stitches at one spot. So whenever we're doing top stitching, we don't want to do the back stitches. Instead, I'm using the brother function where we start the seam at the same place and the machine tie is not underneath. If your machine does not have this function, what you want to do instead, you want to leave long thread ends at the beginning and end of the seam, bring the tail ends at the inside of the garment, tie knots. It creates exactly the same effect. Whenever you're sewing seams like this, it's a good idea to pay attention how the fabric edge aligns with the impressor foot. So for example, now I'm sewing about 1 millimeter from this edge right here. And I'm going to sew all around the shape using the same technique as we did previously. The only difference right now is that the stitches are going to be visible outside. This is why we're using the matching color thread to our main fabric. So after this step, the pocket looks like this, really, really beautiful. And from the inside, just look how clean and beautiful it looks as well. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and close the back of the pocket. So we're going to lift the lining like this, and we're going to sew the side, the top, and the side again. I'm going to pin and show you how it looks. So this is how it looks pinned, the sides, the top, the side again. So now we're going to sew, and when we're sewing, we're going to sew from this side. So I should have put the pin from this side as well. So this is very, very simplistic. Just simply sew around each raw edge to close the back, and that's pretty much it. Now we never want to sew through pins, so just make sure you are removing pins before touching them with your needle. And as you can see, I'm slightly moving the fabric, the main fabric, so that I don't accidentally sew over it. And this is it. You have created a beautiful, beautiful lip welt pocket that is fully functional. It works as a real pocket, and it adds such a wonderful, very, very interesting detail to your design. It is, as you can see, very functional. You can make the bag as deep as you want, as you're feeling comfortable, and this will be such a beautiful detail to add to your skirts, blouses, dresses, jackets, coats. Really untraditional detail, but it looks fantastic. As you can see, very simple to make. Thank you for joining me today in creating this beautiful lip welt pocket. If you like this design, please let me know by hitting the like button and leaving the comment in the section below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!